Hello, hello, hello. This is Nicholas with DIVO-Ted Talks or Devoted Talks, depending on what suits your fancy. I've said it before. I always wanted to give a TED Talk, and I know I would give an epic one, so I decided to work it into my podcast name cleverly. I mean, it works. I actually used to do these things called devotionals, and I still do periodically. You may come across them on the website or in different parts of my social media. But what those were really meant to be was these little fine-tuning moments to either bring you back to yourself, bring you back to alignment, or cleaning off the grum, right? The barnacles of life, metaphorically speaking. The things that in our complacency or in our more stillness than action allows for space to growth, right? The nature of life is to grow. And when life ceases, it then begins to break down, right? So it goes from anabolic to catabolic. And I always remember from a teacher how to remember what catabolic meant. It just said cats tear things apart. And so catabolic is always breaking down. Use that for what you will. So anyway, back to what I wanted to talk about today, which was things taking as long as they're going to take, period. And we can either be okay with it or not. And I think I may have mentioned or talked about this before, but I have a completely different, mindset with regards to it right now. And there's probably a lot of things in our life that are super stagnant, that we're not aware that are stagnant, that are affecting us physically and our choices mentally, that when cleared up could actually physically change things. It could be clutter in your house. I just personally had that experience. I've been so busy with work. I have been coming home and trying to mentally assuage myself. And, it was great, but it just left this mess there and it just made things feel funky. And I don't know how to explain it, but other things materialized after I did some work there. Like money showed up out of nowhere. People who I hadn't heard from in months and months and months finally purchased a package for the yoga studio. And it just was like, wow, really everything is this giant show inside and outside and reflective of each other, right? So in Ayurveda, the body, from the smallest pieces, including the molecules, all the way up to the greater self, there's always a reflection of each of the different pieces, all contained within that one thing, but also each individual piece is a whole into itself. And so like each of the fingers represents one of the 5 elements. Within your ear, you can see all the different parts of the body, same thing with your feet and your tongue. And so the micro makes up the macro, and the macro is contained within the micro. It's a hologram, if you will, in that context of that word. But what does that mean for your life? It means that if something is holding you back or feels like it's not going the right way and not working, maybe there's some context clues in your general awareness that you can refer to figure out what to change. Or maybe there's just something you could get busy with in your general environment that will help unblock things, right? But what I also want to say is that sometimes it takes what it takes to get over things. But what I can assure you with life is that it will deliver to you the things that will help you get through it, as long as you're open and ready to receive that message so that you can implement it, right? It's not always about how bad you want something. It's about how bad you want something, and then how willing are you to be ready to recognize it, receive it, or move from the problem into the solution so that the solution can come to you, right? In some 12-step recovery programs, they talk about living in the solution, because you will never find a solution at the level of the problem. That's something from Einstein as well. You'll never find the answer to a question at the level of the question. And that makes total sense, right? If we live in a dualistic world, if you're living on the one polarity, there's no way you could access the opposite, because they're not the same thing. You would have to start filling yourself with the opposite to slowly bring yourself to middle and then move over to the other side, at least according to Ayurveda. And that's going to look differently from the energetic level and the spiritual level all the way through to the physical levels. So there's a lot of nuance here, and that's okay. That's a beautiful thing. And so maybe it took you, as long as it took you to realize the thing that was blocking you was right there and you could have fixed it, but you needed to learn it. You didn't need to just know it. You didn't need to just do it. You needed to become aware and ready to receive it, and then you could do it, right? I have a blog coming out soon that talks about, yeah, sure, it feels like if you work harder, things will happen. But one of the things that I would argue is that you're not feeling ready to receive until you feel like you've put in the level of work that you think is necessary to be able to receive those things. And that is just a head trip right there. And that's just the level of, a capitalistic society and the energy that vibrates there. You can't have this without capital. You can't get more without the very thing that is necessary to make the machinery work. And so you strive and you work and you try to compensate for, up to the level that you think you need to become worthy, to be able to receive, to think that you deserve it. And I guarantee to you, you're already worthy as long as you can get past the part of where you want to judge yourself for not doing something or beating yourself up for taking too long or it having to be a certain way before it can proceed. Give yourself that forgiveness. Give yourself that grace. I often tell people, check out how you treat other people. Now, some of you may be assholes and you may treat other people in a very bad way, and you're not who I'm talking to. All you compassionate people out there, how many of you are super compassionate to other people, but when it comes to yourself, you're cussing yourself out, you're calling yourself stupid, you're calling yourself fat, you're calling yourself whatever derogatory comment is the focus of that negative self-speak. So it takes as long as it takes, and you don't have to force it or work to a level to become worthy of receiving it. You just have to recognize your worthiness in the receipt of that, just because of the fact that you desire it, right? And sometimes there's this falsehood where we want something because other people have it or we think we should want it rather than actually wanting it. And then we get those conflicted energies producing the reality. And so it comes back to, again, if that conflict is there, it takes the time that it is going to, or the time that is required to get rid of that conflict so that the receipt and the desire can become one. So my friends, don't worry. If it's clogged now, there's a chance it could unclog tomorrow or even in an hour or two, whatever that means for your life, right? The worst thing you can do is continually focus on the fact that it isn't happening, because you'll never think that you're worthy of receiving something when you think that it's not coming to you or isn't already on its way to you, right? Not being able to see the forest for the trees. Or have you ever had a moment where you don't recognize somebody because you're not looking for them and it takes you forever because it's out of context? So again, it's out of context for you to look for the solution if you're not living in the solution and you are living in the problem. All right, friends, this is DIVO-Ted Talks. I'm Nicholas. Be well, be free.